Hello, and welcome to a review for The Hobbit. Now, obviously, because it's just come out in cinemas as of like 6 days ago, I don't actually have any video footage or anything. I would like try to edit in the trailer in the background or whatever, but that would just get ultra annoying because I imagine this review will be about, eight-ish minutes or whatever. Now, I realise not everyone watching this may have seen the film, so my plan is to give two sort of reviews, basically. Um, the first one will be the very general review, um, like the non-spoilery ones for people who haven't seen it or people who don't want to be spoiled. And then there'll be the second version, which will go more in depth. So for for the non-spoiler one, I shall start now. Um, Basically, I thought it was really, really good. It was, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, go and see it. Basically, that's it in a nutshell. I can't think of much more else to say really without spoiling much of it. It was really nice to see Gandalf take a slightly more central role. It was nice to see dwarves and stuff, and like lots of characters. Um, and the CGI's come on like loads since Return of the King. Yeah, so basically that's the short review. Um, yeah. So right, moving on to the full review now. If you haven't seen the film and don't want to spoil it, then stop the video now. Basically, okay. Is everyone gone? Good. Not everyone's gone. Hopefully, some people are listening, watching, still. Okay, right. Well, to start from, I'm going to go through the film assuming you've seen it, or explaining some parts very briefly, but obviously a review, won't really work unless you know the subject material, or unless someone spends a lot of time explaining, and I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so basically, um, starts out, actually, there's like a 10-minute sequence I was impressed with, it's, I don't know. Well, I'm not sure what time frame it takes place in. It may be before Fellowship. Yeah, I'd imagine it is actually. Yeah. Okay. So before Fellowship, and you see, Frodo talking to Bilbo about sort of his book and stuff, and Bilbo just like saying about how he misses his old adventures and stuff, and I think we had a hint of that in the Lord of the Rings trilogy films. I think. Don't take my word on it. It may have been in the extended. I'm not sure. But anyway, he mentions stuff, and you see sort of Elijah Wood for a brief bit, and sort of. So anyway, then Bilbo sort of starts recounting his tale, which we see Bilbo living on his own. He's about sort of Frodo's age, so 20s, 30s, live on his own, sort of, and then we see Gandalf who comes along and's like he realizes who Bilbo is and stuff, and it's nice. It's slightly reminiscent of the start of the Fellowship of the Rings, but what I really liked is the fact that they spent a lot of time in Hobbiton, because he comes, he meets Bilbo, asks him on an adventure. Bilbo says no. Gandalf carves something into his door and then leaves. And then we have dwarves, lots and lots of dwarves. And I really like it. I mean, of all of Tolkien's races that he's created, I'd say the dwarves are probably the most interesting. I mean, a lot of people go with elves, or orcs, because they've got pretty fleshed out things as well. But I love dwarves. It's the whole sort of, well, I don't know. I haven't read the books, but from the films, there wasn't much backstory given to them. They're like, you saw the mines of Moria, but they were empty. Like Gimli mentioned stuff about dwarves throughout the films, but you didn't see any apart from him. So it's really nice to see the fact that you did see lots of other dwarves. Um, you got to see a very small glimpse of Smaug in the start, the dragon. Um, I mean, that was nice. I like the fact that you didn't see him. because at the end of the film, obviously, there's like at the very end, there's a glimpse of him opening his eye and stuff. So it's meant to be built up. You're not meant to know what he looks like. But yeah, sorry, that's skipping ahead. So you see loads of the dwarves, which is really nice. It's they introduced them slower than expected because there are 13 of them. And so I did, because judging from the trailer, you saw them all fall into Bilbo's Hobbit hole, and I genuinely thought that's how they're going to be introduced, and just they all fall in. Gandalf introduces them by name, and that's it. But no, it was quite nice because like a few of them were introduced individually, and one thing that mildly surprised me, because in my head when I read The Hobbit, I always assumed because I read The Hobbit after seeing the Lord of the Rings film, so I assumed all of them would be rather stocky and sort of butch looking like Gimli, just with slightly different hair or slightly different beards. But they were dwarves, but they weren't all stocky and sort of, well, they weren't all Gimli-esque, which is pretty cool. Like some of them genuinely looked just like short, normal guys. And so yeah, so their introduction was great, and I love the fact that they spent 40, 50 minutes in like Hobbiton, in Bilbo's like home. It's I think it's explained because, well, Peter Jackson's now making 3 films instead of 2, so they had the time to do it. But it was nice anyway because the book did take a while to get out of Hobbiton, so it would have been weird if if the film was just like, well, okay, here's the dwarves, there they're going. So yeah, so then they continue. The fight scenes, I have to admit, are epic. CG's come a long way since Return of the King, and Return of the King was pretty good. My one criticism for battle scenes is they're rather a bit too busy. Like, you know what's going on, but like, because there are so many dwarves and so many, like orcs and things throughout the film, that you'll see like 2 of the dwarves you meant to focus on, like jumping and throwing knives and shit, but in the background there's lots of other ones as well, and sometimes it gets a bit confusing now, like, wait, which one are we meant to focus on? And sort of, there'll be lots of things happening in the background. You think, well, fuck, we're meant to focus on this guy here, but that seems to be an interesting battle over there, but I can't see what's going on. But anyway, I mean, that's a very minor thing. They're still really cool battle scenes. I'm sure, like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, once you watch it a few times, because people will watch this film a few times, I can guarantee that you will just eventually get to learn like all the parts of the battle, and sort of each time you watch a different part. Anyway, so yeah, also you're introduced to Radagast the Brown, who I loved in the books. I don't remember much about him. I remember his name. I remember he was like a naturey person. He's quite funny. But yeah, I mean, he was, in the film, he was a cool character. He's played by one of the people who played Doctor Who, Sixth Doctor, possibly. I don't know. But anyway, I mean, he was, well, same as in the book. He was a bit of a sort of a comedy character, but at the same time, he sort of he did provide some narrative and stuff, and I like the fact that sort of they mentioned the whole there are 5 wizards rather than, because in the Lord of the Rings it basically was just Gandalf and Saruman. So it's nice seeing we heard of the 2 blue wizards who Gandalf quite blatantly just went, oh, I can't remember their names, which is a bit weird. I thought it was a bit ballsy there, but then I'm not sure if they were mentioned in the Hobbit book. I don't think they were. So anyway, so yeah, we continue onwards. I don't remember what happened in the middle. This is terrible. I watched it yesterday, because I didn't want to come out of the cinema and do like a really hypey kind of review and like, oh my god, 10 out of 10, this is the best thing ever. I want to relieve her a bit. So yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna skip ahead to near the end. Now, the end to me was interesting because I thought it was going to be the end like an hour before it ended. There was the whole sort of well, they were caught in this is near the end now. I do apologise if I've skipped over a lot. I genuinely can't remember what happened in the middle. Oh, they went to see the elves. Oh, sorry. Okay, no. Mountain trolls, right. I loved that scene. That part in the book, I genuinely like. I loved because like it it had the sort of children's story esque part to it, but it was a lot deeper. It was a lot more thought out than there's lots of mountain trolls. Oh, they're a bit stupid. Oh well, they've gone now. So yeah, I mean they were done really nicely. Um, I liked it. I thought it played out a bit too soon because I think the entire sequence took about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour at the most. Whereas in the book, I thought if you adapted a screen, especially with three parts of a movie to play with, I thought it'd taken at least like 20 minutes. But I mean, there's no complaints there really. At the end of the scene, Gandalf like cracks part of the mountain to reveal the sunlight. I don't remember that happening, but maybe it did. But I thought it just comes up like the sun. But I don't know. I really need to reread the book now. Um, so yeah, then they escape. Then they go and see the elves for a bit. I found that part a bit boring. Like you saw Saruman, which is pretty cool, but for about 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour, is just like talking with the elves, and it's not bad because it gives a bit of foreshadowing for the Lord of the Rings. So the fans of the Lord of the Rings films, you'll be able to watch that and go, they're mentioning something here. And like Saruman says something, it's like, oh, Sauron's been defeated, he's not coming back, which is quite nice. So like, foreshadowing and slightly ironic there. Yeah, I mean, then they journey on. Right, the part where I thought it would end was when they were entering the place that would eventually be where the goblins are. And there were two big, like, two or three, I'm not sure, big stone giants, like, battling and throwing rocks at each other. That part was fucking epic. I genuinely loved that part. That was like, that's the definition of what CGI should be these days. It's like, it had the right atmosphere and everything, but it was mysterious. They didn't spend too much time with it, but then I think that was for the best. It really gave a sense of scale. The like sort of these tiny dwarves. Well, even if they're normal size, were completely dwarfed by these huge giants. So anyway, they went in the goblin place. I thought it would basically end with the dwarves being captured by the Goblin King. The Goblin King I loved. I saw the Lego set before I saw anything of the Goblin King, and so my mental picture was the Lego set. But when I saw him on screen, I was genuinely like, Lego have done a really good job here because they looked identical. Well, I'd say identical, maybe they're not, but yeah, Goblin King I thought he was pretty cool. He's all arrogant and shit, and like he should be. He's the king of goblins, really. You know, Bilbo then, of course, falling down and seeing Gollum. Right, that's where I thought it would end. Basically, the dwarves would be captured by the Goblin King. Bilbo would see Gollum, and that would be the end. But no, I was wrong. I was very wrong. So basically, the riddle part that was well done. I'm fairly sure, is the exact same like amount of riddles and the answers and stuff as the book. That took a while. Gollum, a lot of people said he looks a lot better in the films. I don't know, maybe my concept of CGI aren't as knowledgeable as others. I thought he looked better, but not anything worthy of telling people. It's just like an assumption. Like Yoda, between episode 2 and 3, he looked a tiny bit different, but nothing you'd go, oh, you need to watch this because he looks great. So yeah, so Gollum seemed a bit more human. Like his lines was like. Also, there was a mild bit of comedy running throughout the entire film, and that was the same as the book. Obviously, it was more light-hearted than the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which was nice. But yeah, he seemed a lot more human and stuff, and it was quite funny, sort of some of the things that he says. And like, I think at one point he said like, "Shut up." Bilbo's like, I didn't say anything. He's like, we're not talking to you. So I thought it was quite funny. Um, there you see the ring. He gets the ring. He escapes. He puts the ring on for quite a while. I thought that was cool. You get to see more of like what it's like to wear the ring, whereas in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he puts it on for like 2 minutes at most or something, and all the time it's just like a really trippy, scary kind of thing. Whereas this is just like, hey, I'm invisible and I can see shit really well or something. I don't know, but it was cool. And then the fight with the goblins was really awesome. And then they escape, and then another part that I thought it would end was when they were surrounded by there's the troll, no, the big white orc guy that Thorin, I think it was Thorin, leader of the dwarves, had a feud with. And when they were near the cliff face, I thought it would end there, but it didn't. So then there was a big battle there involving lots of fire effects and stuff. And then I was genuinely pleased when the eagles appeared, because I fucking love the eagles as well. Um, they had a fair bit of screen time, well, 5 minutes ish. But you know, the eagles are cool, the CG was brilliant. And then, you know, they rescued the dwarves and stuff. And then it finally did end at the top of the mountain where they're looking down. It's like, we're home, which is nice. And then we saw a shot of Smaug, and then it like ended. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's enough material left to make 2 more films, but maybe I'm mistaken. Also, before I finish and give a roundup, I have to say, I loved the fact they cast Martin Freeman as Bilbo. You know, because the others, I mean, Thorin was cool, but was just sort of a fairly one-dimensional kind of character. Until the end, where he's like, "Well, I judged you, but I'm sorry, Bilbo," and stuff. Gandalf was Gandalf, you know. Martin Freeman's an awesome actor, but everything I've ever seen him in, he plays the exact same character. The mildly awkward, sarcastic kind of guy who goes along with it and has a, you know, fairly pessimistic view on life, but gets through and maybe has a joke now and then. The Office, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, this, all 3 of them, you could genuinely swap them around and it would still work. And a few times, like when Bilbo would say something, I genuinely thought this is Martin Freeman saying the line. This isn't Bilbo. It's like I felt that, especially having read the books, that Bilbo would have been a bit more. I don't know. It's not a huge criticism. It's just the fact that he is essentially the main character, and it's the actor who plays him rather than the character who's portrayed. If you know what I mean. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I love Martin Freeman. It's no criticism. Well, really. Yeah, I mean, overall, I loved it. It is going to be one of those big hits that everyone sees and everyone loves. It's like the Lord of the Rings. You knew that once you'd seen the Fellowship of the Rings, all 3 of the movies, even if they were 7 out of 10 worthy, everyone would still go and see them. And you know, you just know that people are going to see part 2 and 3. Because they're simply awesome. You can tell why Peter Jackson worked so long on it. I mean, rumours were since like 2006 or 7 maybe? I don't know. But it was worth the wait. I'll be interested to see how the other 2 parts come out and how long it'll take for the other 2. I'd imagine like 2015 will be the next one, along with the Avengers too. Should be fun. But yeah, I mean, I'd say overall rating 9 out of 10. I give half a point reduction for the fact that some of the action scenes are a bit too hectic, like a tiny bit, you know, not enough to take a point out of, but sometimes they're a bit too busy for their own good. And half a point for the fact that Martin Freeman kind of delivered sort of, you know, sort of Bilbo Freeman rather than Bilbo Baggins. Yeah, 9 out of 10. I would definitely recommend going to see this if you like the films or the book. Or if you just like fantasy stuff in general, really. I mean, some people have still not seen the Lord of the Rings films. I'm not one of those people who like flips the fuck out and is like, how can you not have seen them? Because I understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'd say give it a try. I mean, unless you really dislike fantasy films, You can't go much wrong with this. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great review. I'm sorry, I wasn't very I'm not very knowledgeable in the world of films, really. But you know, hopefully this has given some light to some people. Maybe you totally disagree and think I'm an utter cunt and it only deserved like 2 out of 10 or something. Tell me in the comments, if you can, if you want to. Goodbye for now.